What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Preview Show, live show, actually. We're here looking at the 5-game main slate for DraftKings. Hopefully, you guys had a successful early slate of baseball there. Aaron Judge came through with a nice productive day, as we had on the cover of our preview show. Our dirty little value pitcher, Patrick Corbin, 6 innings, 108 strikeouts. Basically, any lefty out there, if you're a lefty watching the show right now, could probably shut down the Colorado Rockies. So have a lot of success there. And we turn our focus now to a 5-game main slate that has some pretty big name pitchers on it, notably Paul Skeens as your top price starter here tonight. James, how we doing, man?
Doing well. 5-game slate with a lot of really good pitching. So anytime you get like these smaller slates with really good pitching, sometimes you have to take more shots than normal. Because like when you look at things, it's like, oh, well, Griffin Canning is slated to be the long man here. So like there's going to obviously be natural ownership going to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And then on like the flip side, you know, Ryan Yarbrough is expected long man for the Angels. Like there's going to be expected ownership there. So you're going to have to take some shots, I'd say, with take some stands on good teams against good pitchers. But that's what we're here to help you with. It's an overall very interesting slate because the depth of pitching. And, you know, despite that depth, like nothing priced to – like everything is like very cheap, which is not usually the case. But no pitchers over 10K. It should make for a fun slate.
I agree. Dylan Cease and Paul Skeens are your two guys over 9K. Skeens home against Cincinnati. Cease home against the Mets here. Skeens obviously, still dominant, but not as shut down as he was during the first like 8 or 9 starts. Maybe the wear and tear, the long season. Again, nothing taking away from his production here, but this is a guy that was consistently over 10K, touched 11K, 99, price coming down a little bit. Of the 2 top price guys, who are you looking to prioritize?
Skeens. I mean, Skeens has like easily the better matchup of the 2. Mm-hmm. I know that we've said that, and like he faced Seattle last time out, and obviously wasn't great. And you mentioned, I mean, he hasn't necessarily been great. There's obviously been the rumors about shutting him down. Nothing definitive yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see how Pittsburgh handles him the remainder of the year. But if there's no reports on anything imminent, then it's Skeens. Like you talked about Skeens slowing down. I mean, Dylan Cease, since his no-hitter, has kind of been like good, but a lot of pitches, like old Dylan Cease, right? Where he's laboring through 5+ innings and he's laboring through these starts. And the walks are starting to rear their head again, and there's not that 10 strikeout ceiling that we've gotten lately. And the Mets aren't really that team that you're going to get 10 strikeout upside against. So I definitely lean Paul Skeens.
So I do want to say, as we are live here, manager Shelton on Paul Skeens. There is no immediate plan to shut him down. There has never been an immediate plan to shut him down. However, we will monitor that. Whether it's aiming at an innings limit or a workload limit per game, we'll be thoughtful. So do we get the Garrett Crochet treatment here for Paul Skeens? He goes 50 pitches, he goes 4 innings, and then he's done. Yeah. Now,
and they're also not playing for anything.
Right.
Like they
were making a run for a while. People thought, if they kept it going, he would go. That's obviously fallen off. But we've seen this with pitchers before with their no-hitters as well. Like I guess, Blake Snell, the exception, because he continues just to shut guys down, but he also didn't throw 115 pitches in his no-hitter there. So like when you have a guy that throws a lot of pitches after those perfect game no-hitters, sometimes they do struggle. And again, he's not necessarily like having poor performances, but certainly not to the level he was during that month where he was unhittable. So, Mets certainly can do some damage there. I think it's an interesting slate. I still agree with you. I think Skeens is where I'm going to go. It's just going to hurt if after 5 innings he gets taken out tonight. because
if it's 5, because even with the crochet point, they capped him at 4. Like it's like 4 innings, you're gone, buddy. Like see your
Mariners just fired their manager.
Yeah, that was in the reports a couple hours ago that they said it was they were going to make it official. Did they just make it official?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're bringing on like Edgar Martinez to the bench and stuff. So they're bringing back some. I mean, all the reports yesterday, they were saying that it's our fault we can't hit. Like,
right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you have a lot of talent. You guys should be hitting. Yeah, I mean, I think it is interesting pitching in general. If you just look at the top 5 names, right? Skeens and Cease have been elite. Are they that elite here? Corbin Burns, don't know where the strikeouts have gone. Got absolutely shellacked against the Red Sox his last time out. Has been really subpar, but has run into a little bit of unluckiness lately. He gets a tough Astros matchup. I think Schwellenbach is actually a really interesting play because the ERA is about a full run higher than his xFIP and Sierra is. He also has a pretty tough matchup, but I mean, you want to talk about strikeout appeal further than what Schwellenbach has been lately, and he gets a lot of ground balls. Like he's very interesting, and obviously Nick Lodolo has been horrible in multiple starts lately, but also factor in both those terrible starts have come at home. And now we're going to a much more pitcher-friendly Pittsburgh park.
Already pitched in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's been great on the road. Dude, and this is like story as old as time, right? Pitcher away from Coors, pitcher away from Great American. Good. Pitcher in Coors, pitcher in Great American. Bad. When's the last time Ubaldo Jimenez walked through that door in Coors? Or when's the last time, like, this year's Hunter Green walked through the door in Cincy? Like, it doesn't happen often. So, I think at $8,000, Lodolo on the road is really interesting, and I think Schwellenbach and Tormans 85 is really interesting.
Do we have an Orioles lineup yet?
Yes, we do. Kowser back to lead off, Santander second, Gunnar third, O'Hearn fourth.
So hear me out on this. Spencer Arrighetti has been shut down against lefties.
He has been weirdly good.
Last 5 starts against left-handed hitters. 145 average against, 246 WOBA. He's got a 2.1 xFIP against lefties over his last 5 starts. They're throwing a whole lot of lefties in that lineup in a ballpark, which they moved the fences back, killed right-handed power. We've talked a lot about that as well. Could Arrighetti be a sneaky play here where nobody ever really wants to go against Baltimore? Like, they're going to have a bunch of guys hitting from the left side of the plate here against him today.
Obviously, this is your version of talking about righties against Boston, right? Now you're flipping roles here. Where
I'm more so just looking at the numbers for him. It was my version of like Michael Lorenzen earlier this year, where he's like, dude, lefties are 1 for 40 off of him. Like, I don't know. Lefties, and again, sample size, teams he's faced, but like overall, he's been so good against lefties of late, and this has really been the best form of him of this season. So like, you think maybe he figured some stuff out and has it working for him over his last couple of starts here. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
I definitely have more concerns than you.
15 K per 9, 45 strikeout rate. Like,
I mean, and you look at the K per 9 in general versus lefties. Like, if you wanted the sample, right? Like, you exclude your sample and just season long. I mean, 11 K per 9. It's not like it's still elite. That's still an elite number. Obviously, the season-long numbers for lefties are better. 336 WOBA, 1.2 home runs per 9. I would say like the elevated fly ball rate and hard contact against lefties is a little concerning.
Sure.
When you factor in that it is still a favorable right field in Baltimore, and Baltimore ranks 2nd in ISO, 3rd in OPS.
Oh, they're going to look good numbers-wise, 100%.
Yeah, no, I know, but like that's. And I'm not saying that this is the same offense like now that it was earlier in the year, because it's not, other than like Santander, who just homers constantly. But it is a scary proposition. Now, if you want to play it,
they're throwing 5 straight lefties at him to start the game. Cowser, Santander, Henderson, O'Hearn, Rutschman.
Yep.
And then a righty in Mountcastle, then a lefty in Holiday, lefty in Mullins, a righty in Urias. So I don't know. Like I said, I agree with you. There's obviously risk. It is a 5-game slate. Spencer Arrighetti is going to be 1%. If he goes out there and holds them to a 140 average today, and Corbin Burns gives up home runs like he did to Boston, you're going to get a low roster pitcher, who's had a 40 and a 30 fantasy point game in 2 of his last 3 here. So
I definitely think the strikeouts are obviously appealing too, because Baltimore does strike out. It's not like they'd have like this lineup.
They do.
Arrighetti's
giving up home runs, right? 6 in his last 4.
And that's the scary part when you talk about like Baltimore power left side, and like Arrighetti's a fly ball pitcher, right? Like it's a 45% fly ball rate this year.
I wonder who's homering off of him in those games. I'll look at the box scores.
45% fly ball rate. 2 home runs against the White Sox. I'm just saying.
Listen, I'm just saying.
I think that was that might be the double down Luis Robert game.
Probably, right?
That was the game I was about to drop Luis Robert in seasonal, and then he reeled me back in.
Yeah, double dong Luis Robert game. Okay, so 2 homers off a righty. Boston homers. Danny Jansen. Yoshida was a lefty.
Okay.
So we got a homer.
The Dodgers is Ohtani plus who?
Let's see. The Dodgers game was
Ohtani, Lux,
Outman, and Lux, 2 lefties. So
3 of the last 5. So look, I know what you're saying. I understand it. In terms of like your mindset in a tournament, Spencer Arrighetti makes sense because there's also cases for the 6 names in front of him that suggest like, why not Spencer Arrighetti, right? But
it's him or it's Christopher Sanchez for me. Now, the Braves numbers against lefties are ridiculous.
Yes.
But the strikeout rate is also super high. But we have a guy who doesn't give up home runs. He doesn't really strike anybody out.
He stinks on the road, which is so weird. He has I was looking at this earlier. He has a sub 20% fly ball rate, John, on the road, right? Sub 20%. It's like a 70% ground ball rate. Also, hitting 300 are right-handed bats against Christopher Sanchez on the road, which I find really interesting because like Christopher Sanchez is getting singled to death on the road against righties all the time. So I'm good with it. Also, another case, we talk about Atlanta all the time. They have all the power, but 5 home runs allowed this year. Like, where's the power coming from?
Yeah. No, I don't know. But you're just looking. Nobody here has a perfect matchup, right? So it's just
no. And Severino's and you even want to talk Severino. I think this is a sneaky San Diego spot. Another guy who's coming off a bunch of pitches who has had arm troubles in the past, and like, you want to talk about like. He was really struggling going into that start, and then they elected to let him throw 113 pitches despite like 2 Tommy John surgeries in his career. I mean, San Diego.
Yeah. How many times have you seen it? Time and time again, right? Like they extend him, and then he gets hurt, right? Just So, what's like
my pool?
Yeah, what's your pool today, right? Like our guy Keith in the chat has his pool here. Arrighetti, Sanchez, and Ladola. For him
I would say the only really omission that I have from that list is Schwellenbach, and that's even scary because Philadelphia's offense is riddled with lefties, but I love the strikeouts, and I have more confidence in him striking people out than Corbin Burns at this point. Cease, no strikeout upside really against the Mets, and then Skeens is obviously risky. So I'd agree with that pool plus Schwellenbach just for the strikeout appeal.
Catcher position. I get the Ladola thing, but Joey Bart is just on fire right now.
Yeah, he's been good.
And season long numbers against lefties, over 1,100 OPS, hitting over 300 against them, $3,900.
Yeah. and he's hitting third. I mean, you're not going to find a better spot. Your chalk here. I mean, there's two clear options. Alejandro Kirk and Carantini are like your two clear-cut, two punty plays here at catcher. You're not going to find catchers hitting this in the middle of the lineup that are this cheap. So
Okay.
I would say like either of those guys would probably be my pool. I'd also be good with either. I don't think we have a Padres lineup yet, but either Padres catcher for me would make a ton of sense.
And if you're not high on Burns or you think there's something going on there, Yandy Diaz has been one of the more consistent hitting catchers in baseball this year. So
he has. I mean, arguably, from start to finish, maybe the most consistent. I mean, William Contreras might have the only other
he had like a 2-week stretch because I dropped him from my roto team and nobody picked him up because he was slumping, and then I picked him back up and he's been one of the best catchers in baseball. So yeah, I mean 333, 992. He's hit walk-off homers, like he's homering off Kenley Jansen. You can homer off Kenley Jansen, you can homer off anybody. So we'll see what happens there. All right, first base, you got Vladdy. Obviously, again, Burke opening, and then Griffin Canning. Not afraid of that. Vlad is dominating at home this year. Big power numbers for him. What is your next move though, as we kind of work our way around here?
So I think Vladdy is the clear number one. I mentioned yesterday before the stream that I like Spencer Steer. Yari Rodriguez had been struggling against righties. Had a really big game. He has been really good of late. I don't hate Spencer Steer. I'm interested a little bit in Cronenworth. He's been good lately. I just talked about the Severino pitch count and how I don't like that and where that sits. So you can play Cronenworth 45.
Sure.
If you are, obviously fading Arrighetti, Ryan Mountcastle 4,000, he's been bad. O'Hearn 38, he's been better. Even though he's basically in a split. I mean, Ryan O'Hearn has basically lost all of the playing time since they started calling everybody up. But he is hitting in the middle of their lineup. Still been good this year. And then, you can play Horwitz here, who had burst onto the scene when he first got called up, was hitting everything, went through a slump. Now back-to-back games, the home run. Dude, and the Griffin Canning splits just continuously are they are so bad. And, maybe he doesn't get his first at-bat against Griffin Canning. Okay. But he's going to get at least 2 more against Griffin Canning, and he's hitting 4th, 3,900. You can play him at second base. There's obviously appeal there.
Agreed. Again, Connor Joe does hit lefties well. If you're not on Lodolo, not going to – I mean, we keep saying, if you want to just punt, the man has 8 strikeouts and 11 at-bats. They're going to keep playing him. One of these days, though,
he's going to homer for sure.
He will homer. It's not going to be off of a Yarbrough, though, right? That's a lefty spot, isn't it, for him? So
yeah, and they're opening with the righty. He's not going to see Ryan Burr at all.
Right.
The only thing I'd say, and what makes it a little bit appealing, Yarbrough is not stretched out.
Sure.
So, he has spanned 2 innings in each of his last 2 outings, 42 pitches max.
I mean, listen, I put him in my lineup last night just because it let me get Judge and Witt and Flaherty and stuff like that.
Yep.
So if you're okay with just eating a 2K punt, and this is a guy that has ridiculous power. So the day he homers at 2K, you just got 7x, on your return. So
yeah, and to your when you sent the screenshot of he was 15% rostered.
Yeah, people played him.
So it wasn't like he's just this player that everyone's just ignoring, because exactly what you just said, he allows you to get whatever. And if you're not if you're playing Yandy Diaz, right?
Yeah.
A catcher, you can now just pivot your punt and take it at first base.
Right. This obviously isn't the same slate when it comes to spending up options, and we'll go over that. The guy you want to spend up for is actually at the same position in Vlad tonight. So
yes, that's also that's the unfortunate part. That is where's that Vladdy first and third eligibility?
Seriously, need that again in my life. Second base, Altuve 53, India 45, Xander 42. I mean, you mentioned Horowitz already. I don't know, maybe you like Lodolo, so I would say IKF leading off, but I don't know. What's your feelings on second? We're missing most of our guys. We got the Blue Jays, I guess. Right?
Yeah,
Wagner and Jimenez are down here. So
yes, well, 3 of them. We could play 3. There's 3 Blue Jays that are second base eligible with Horwitz included. So you could play.
They can give us 3 Blue Jays at second, but they can't give us Vladdy at third.
You know? That's touche. You know, we had Vladdy at third for like I remember. I'll never forget those 2 slates. I didn't use Vladdy at third, but I'll never forget that.
No, we didn't use him once. Not once. No.
I mean, like if you're not playing Lodolo, obviously IKF leading off makes sense. He's been good. Jackson Holiday slowed down a little bit. Obviously, the strikeouts have come back a little bit, but if you're stacking Orioles, you have to like that he's hitting like moving up in the lineup a little bit, hitting 7th. And I largely agree. Like Will Wagner hitting 6th is mostly my plug and play. Now, you know, like I prefer to punt with Wagner than I would with Kavadas because the position scarcity stinks,
Agreed.
right? So I prefer 2,500 Will Wagner, who just keeps hitting. I know it's not like he has not flashed like the highest ceiling, but he did start off his career 3 straight multi-hit games. So
if you want some power upside, Leo's there.
You know, yeah, he's the upside one of the 2, right? Like that. Obviously, Wagner fits your stacks better.
Yeah.
But Jimenez you get with the wraparound portion of it. So.
Yep. Third base, Bregman, who's been really good, $5,200 there. Machado. And then again, I mean, our guy Ernie Clement homered yesterday.
He did.
Didn't play him, but he was in these homering.
Back-to-back games, by the way, for Ernie Clement.
Yeah. It's not a great position. It's not a great position.
So, like, I'm good with any of, like, the top names, personally. You talked about the Bregman stuff. I mean, he has been really good. Undoubtedly been really good. The power specifically has returned.
He's going to be a guy that probably ends the season. We're like, oh, good year for Bregman. And then it's just like, well, it's a good month and a half.
Yeah, good month and a half for Bregman. You want to talk about power? Like Mark Vientos is in the middle of one of those, like every day extra base hit streak. Like there's always upside playing him. I like the Padres a little bit playing Machado. I mean, homers in 2 of his last 4 games. He's been solid. I'm a little indifferent about this like Angels thing that I think is going to get some ownership, and I get it. The Blue Jays bullpen's not very good. Ryan Yarbrough's not very good. They're going with an opener, but like any lineup that includes Anthony Rendon hitting 4th is just. But he is hitting 4th at 3,400. I guess it's worth mentioning. I don't love really anything else. Shea Whitcomb,
there's not much.
Shea Whitcomb has. I mean, if you looked at him, like. He was a nearly 30. He would have gone 30-30 at the minor league level if he didn't get called up.
Sure.
You know, I don't love it, but 2,600. You're not going to find many players at 2,600 with like the ceiling.
I agree. Shortstop, you got Ellie versus Arrighetti. You got Gunnar versus Arrighetti. Ellie versus Skeens. Turner versus Schwellenbach. Lindor gets Cease. NATO, probably the spot, $4,300. O'Neal Cruz, $5K, but lefty there.
I think the Reds lineup is so funny to me. Sign Eddie Rosario, hit him 5th. Sign Dom Smith, hit him 7th tonight. Like just immediately, like need to.
Yeah,
that's how desperate they are. Just warm bodies. Yeah, I mean, like this will be a slate where nobody plays Ellie De La Cruz because they're scared of Skeens. But like. Let's say Skeens is shut down after 5 innings.
Yep.
4 innings.
Bad Pirates bullpen, you know.
And then you get Ellie. All you need with this guy is 1 at bat. Single, stolen base, run scored. And you're like, wow, 15 fantasy points in 1 at bat. Right? Yeah. It's like, so I'm good.
This is the guy that had back-to-back 4-hit games here not too long ago. So
right. And I've told you this before, like, I like playing Ellie De La Cruz when he's kind of been like in a good rhythm. Last 2 games in this series in general, just in a good rhythm. So I like De La Cruz, obviously hitting from his better split. Gunnar Henderson, elite play. I'd play Lindor basically against anybody at this point. He continues to be incredible.
Yeah.
Day in, day out, 25-25 once again. You mentioned the O'Neal Cruz thing. Has been better against lefties lately. Not like my favorite, but I do agree on the
taking walks. It's good to see him
He is
take
taking walks. He is. It is good to see him
because
taking
he's taking
walks.
walks and he's stealing bases.
And he's the only one in their lineup that hits. So like they can afford to.
But I just like that he's being aggressive when he gets on.
Agreed,
right?
for sure. And Nato obviously.
I mean, he'll get the lefty matchup at some point here.
At least one. Yeah, he'll get one. He'll get one at bat, I think, against Yarborough, and then we'll see what happens after that.
And then he can play with Jimenez down here as well at short. If you wanted to.
Yeah, you can play Jimenez. I think IC3 mentioned Arcia earlier. He just hasn't been good against lefties this year. He has only done his damage, and I said it yesterday. Like, he was the only damage against Aaron Nola yesterday, 2-run home run. I mean, not the only damage, but like the only runs scored against Aaron Nola. He just doesn't hit lefties well this year, and also Christopher Sanchez just doesn't allow power. So probably a no from me on the Arcia front, but like you can always do it.
Outfield, obviously big power bats up the top there. Yordan, Ozuna, and Schwarber. I like Houston gets Burns here. There's something seemingly off about him right now, so sure. I'm happy to kind of ride that play out.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. I don't disagree. I just looking at got some Padres line here. Araz, Profar, Cronenworth, Machado, Bogart. So the standard stuff. Yeah, I mean, I like Yordan 59 if you can get there. He's been amazing. Ozuna, I don't know if we want to pay 5,600 for maybe 3 singles here. Schwarber always in play in tournaments.
Profar 48.
Santander, yeah. I mean, I think Profar, Jackson Merrill 48, 46. Profar hitting second tonight. Obviously has slumped. This isn't the better side of a split, but I do think this is a very interesting spot against Luis Severino. Jackson Merrill. I mean, that kid is special.
Now the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, hits in 6 straight, multi-hit games in 3 of those. I mean, he is power and speed and everything offensively. So for sure, like both those guys. If you are playing Baltimore, like I know Kowser's been bad, but you can play Colton Kowser, who's leading off in that lineup.
Right.
I think George Springer is very interesting. We saw this earlier in the year, right? George Springer has had 2 good stretches. That all of his statistics have come in like 2 spans, but one of them is right now. Like he's right now in the midst of one of those streaks. So George Springer live for like a leadoff home run always, right? I mean, that's always been his like shtick where he just hits a home run to start a game. That's live. That's live here with a lefty on the mound, and then they go to Canning. I think Toronto would. Is it bold to say Toronto's probably the best stack of the day? But I don't think that's bold. I think
I think Toronto's gonna be super popular. I mean,
popular, right?
Yeah, I think. I mean, you're looking at Griffin Canning. I think most people on this slate, because we went over the pitching and like the pitchers are good-ish in bad spots, right? So this is the very obvious stack. Is Toronto there? So no, I think that's probably going to be a popular play by many. And maybe even on the opposite side, I don't know.
I know. I hate it.
But like Varsho's fine. I could see people maybe playing against Arrighetti. Again, those lefty splits to me just worry me a bit. The way he's been pitching lately against lefties.
And he also just has a massive ceiling because of the strikeouts at the end of the day. Like his strikeout ceiling is elite.
Value down here though.
I saw our boy Poe Degen, like salute to you. But he's talking about Howard Bender's favorite player, Ben Gamble. I don't know if you knew that Howard's favorite player is actually Ben Gamble. Hitting 6th for Houston tonight. Salute to Ben Gamble. What's up, Diggs? Ben Gamble with the beard was better than the shaved Ben Gamble, but I guess if you want to play mid-salary Ben Gamble.
Not Rosario hitting 5th.
Yeah, I said Eddie Rosario. I meant Ahmad Rosario.
I was thinking Eddie for a second too when you said him. It's not great. Maybe is it like Philly versus Schwellenbach? Maybe you're a better ceiling stack here.
Yeah, I mean, like The Schwellenbach stuff is tough because he gets ground balls and misses bats, so it's it's very challenging. Where's Peralta? Where's my boy Peralta at?
Right there.
He's in the lineup hitting
35.
7th. He's hitting 7th. I like San Diego. He's been really good the whole month, so I would play him too. I don't think there's like anything punty here. I think you can get away with like a Loper Fido potentially, who's coming off a couple good games, because you're going to see Griffin Canning in this, and Griffin Canning's been so bad against lefties.
Yeah.
But like you don't have to, like Joey Loperfido isn't a necessity. He's just, I think he is like in play.
He is.
Yeah, he just is. I mean, he exists.
He just exists.
He exists. He exists in
the world. I'm just like throwing together a lineup here, because I don't really even know.
I want to play Lodolo, and let's go with our two stands. You want to play Arrighetti. I want to play Lodolo. That's going to be our duo. And I do think your Jordan call makes sense, because Corbin Burns has struggled. Okay.
$600 to play with. Lodolo, Arrighetti, Diaz, Guerrero, Wagner, Bregman, Jimenez, Merrill, Peralta, Jordan. Would you change anything here? Where was Springer? 41, you said?
Springer was in
45?
the mid fours. I mean, I think
Springer over Merrill?
I think Springer makes a lot of sense. So,
42. Full on Varsho stack there.
I mean, I like it's hard not to like the Blue Jays tonight.
I mean, if you're ever going to 5-man, it is a 5-game slate, right? Like,
I think that this is your slate you want to, because if you get the right 5-man, I mean, you're just not being caught, right? Like if the Blue Jays score 14 runs and you have a 5-man Blue Jays,
I have the 1, 2, 3, 9, 9, 1, 2, 3 for Toronto there.
9, 1, 2, 3,
6, 9, 1, 2, 3, 6.
Yeah, I was gonna say we also have.
And then we got the 2, 3, 4 for Houston.
I like it.
All right. Well, 5-man Toronto here, everybody, with a Houston 3-man, Lodolo and Arrighetti at pitching, $200 left over. Again, it's a 5-game slate, so we're going to get a little GPP-ish with our lineup build here. If you have any questions, get us in Discord, find us on the X Machine. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. It's a free way to support the work we do here over at Fantasy Alarm. If you're not yet already a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, QR code right there, fantasyalarm.com/win, promo code Let's Go. Get your first month for less than $20. That includes our fantasy football draft guide and cheat sheet. If you have your draft tonight, make sure you have that cheat sheet in hand right now. Rankings, ADP rankings, auction values, tiered rankings, the whole thing right there in the cheat sheet. So check it out, fantasyalarm.com/win, promo code Let's Go. Grande and I'll be back tomorrow. Big Friday slate.